Hello and welcome to Sage's Tabletop Table Talks. I'm Sage, this is my tabletop, and I'm going to talk to you about tabletop role-playing games. Let's talk about something that a lot of games have put in their system. D&D played with it in 5th edition a little bit, not really in a mechanical way though. But a lot of games have thrown this in their system under a very, very false pretense. And that is merits and flaws, specifically flaws. Merits are just kind of bonuses. They're basically the equivalent of D&D feats or like bennies, boons, whatever. Just things that are not like skill or stat points that just kind of give you an extra little advantage, edge. They're called advantages in MechWarrior. And they're not bad. So often they're paired with flaws. And we need to talk about how the gaming community handles flaws. And it's very flawed as it is. I think it ultimately what it does is it comes down to a false idea within the gaming community. This idea that you can incentivize role-playing mechanically. You saw this in the old editions of D&D where they talked about rolling stats up, and you would roll 3d6 down the line. You didn't actually in the original D&D. You rolled, I believe it was 3d6 range as desired. But a lot of people have this weird, stupid fucking grognar idea of rolling 3d6 down the line and let the dice determine your character. Oh boy, I got a whole fucking party of wizards. This is a real fucking entertaining game. You're wrong. Shut the fuck up. Get the fuck out of here. Don't actually get the fuck out of here. You're more welcome to play D&D. Like, I'm not trying to gatekeep. But that's a stupid fucking idea, guys. That is. And if you want to do that, you can still fucking do that in 46 ranges desired. You can still fucking roll in order if you want. No one's fucking stopping you from doing that. You're just making the game less fun for somebody who has like an roleplay idea they want to do. I didn't realize this was going to be about D&D stats. But fuck it. Let's get into this shit real quick. If you think that rolling down the line to see what your character gets is in any way inductive to good roleplay or good gaming, you're just fucking wrong. And if that's how you want to build your character, guess what? You fucking can. You can just roll down the line if that's really what you want, but you won't actually do that because you don't actually want to fucking do that. You want to hold everybody to this fucking standard you had when you were fucking 16. You were playing with your fucking weird Uncle Steve, sitting on his lap while you rolled fucking 3d6 down the line. But he was giving you the GURPSian 3d6 roll under. And like, you want to, but like, jokes aside, you want to recreate that memory, but that is a false memory. You liked it because that was a time in your life where you had freedom to go to your friend's house every weekend to play D&D. You didn't have bills to pay. You didn't have fucking a job that calls you in every fucking Saturday to ruin your fucking D&D group, gaming group. Calls you in last fucking minute to go in. So you gotta tell your friends 5 minutes before session that your work called, pissing them all off because now they are all like, oh, well, I guess Jim's not gonna be here tonight. You want to recreate that, but it's never coming back. Those days are gone. You know, we're fucking 40 now. We don't have the luxury of having free weekends anymore. That's not how life works. You will never get that back. So shut the fuck up with your roll down the line. If I want to build a wizard, I should be allowed to build a good wizard. I shouldn't have to take my fucking 8 roll, put it in my intelligence, because that's good role playing. You know what makes good role players? Good role playing. That's what makes good role players. Not shit stats, not being forced into playing the type of character that the dice want you to play. And that's your, and then, so the idea of false is the idea that you're incentivizing good role play by forcing players to play characters that are not Mary Sue's, which is honestly, I could almost do a whole tirade about the word Mary Sue and how it's lost all fucking meaning in any kind of intellectual discussion. But anyway, the idea is that you as a player take drawbacks, and those drawbacks give you extra points to put somewhere else. So this means that you can take something like your character is an alcoholic and getting 2 points to increase their ability to sword fight. So you can play like a drunken master kind of samurai character. And in theory, that's kind of cool. The problem is it doesn't actually work. So let's take Legend of Five Rings. So I played Legend of Five Rings, and this has stuck out in my head for a long time. So I had a character, and this was me. I had a character I wanted to build. Legend of Five Rings allows you to take up to 10 points of drawbacks that let you gain extra abilities. So I had in my mind what I wanted my character to be. And when I bought all those drawbacks, I ended up with 9 points in drawbacks. But here's the thing. I had the option for 10. This guy took 10. This guy took 10. This guy took 10. My character's effectively 1 point behind. So I literally took Fear of Bees just to fill out that last 10 point. Because you're leaving power on the table. You're leaving it off your character and on the, out of your zone if you don't take all those, penalties that are allowed to you. So yeah, and there's, once again, this idea that you're incentivizing roleplay, but you're not. Because I've had players who were terrible role players, who were the kind of min-maxers everybody talks about being a problem player, where every single thought they make of a game is mechanical. So they scour these books, these faults, for the 10 points of faults that have the least amount of mechanical effect on them. 3 phobias. I'm afraid of bees, and I'm afraid of snakes, and I'm afraid of, I don't know, fucking koi fish. Like, so you think, oh, what's this? I have a dangerous secret. Which I'll get into that shit later. I have a rival. Once again, we'll get into that when I actually talk about specific flaws and those ones that suck. But you end up with this super fucking generic min-max character with the 10 points of faults that are the most boring, the least mechanically influential ones, so that he can get abilities like double strike and, psychic immunities and things like that. GURPS is a nightmare when it comes to that shit. Because I don't know that GURPS has limits. The 2 systems I think handled it better than anyone else is Mutants and Masterminds, and I hate to praise it, but Hero System. Hero System's a nightmare mess. But how Hero System works is you build a character with, let's say, 300 points. And then you have to take at least 75 points of matching drawbacks. The drawbacks are stupid, but I like the idea of, like, okay, you build a character, everyone builds a character of X points, and they get X drawbacks. And one of the things they mention is if you want to play a sidekick who has, like, you want to play, like, let's say, Falcon to Captain America. They're like, okay, well, technically Falcon would be weaker than Captain America. However, the advantage of that is that Falcon would have less in the form of drawbacks. He would have less drawbacks. Which hypothetically kind of makes sense. It doesn't actually work that way, but hypothetically that makes sense. So yeah, it is just when you build a character so many points, you have so many points of drawbacks you have to take. That makes sense. And once again, when I talk about how the drawbacks aren't really drawbacks, in Hero System and Mutants and Masterminds, it's kind of like okay because of how their systems function. So, like I said, you just have these drawbacks. And in Hero System, you have a couple of drawbacks you take. And how drawbacks work there is you don't get points back for it. Whenever one of these complications, these faults, take into effect for your character, you gain a hero point, a bonus point, a beanie point, inspiration, fate point, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, you gain a point that lets you, do the whole cool, like, extra roll thing. Inspiration to those who play Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Not exactly, but it's a proper equivalent. So in that one, you can have 100 faults, but until they actually come into play and actually cause a legitimate hindrance to your character, they don't really matter. I still don't think it's a great system because of... Now let's just get into it. A lot of times, these faults are spotlight hogs. There's a lot of faults in these games that are not actually faults, but rather attempts at resting. Ow, shit. Fuck. Dumped my war fan on my foot. Fuck, that hurt. Oh. Resting narrative control from the DM. So something like a rival. You have a rival. So let's say you take rival and you get 15 points for having a rival. You have Joker, Red Skull, whatever. What this means now is you either get 15 free points, because whatever, your rival doesn't show up, or now the DM has to actively write stories around your fucking rival. So it's not really a drawback, just now the DM has to make you the main character for a short period of time. The story has to be focused around you, and it has to be focused around Batman and Joker instead of the Justice League trying to fend off the armies of Apocalypse or whatever it is your story you're trying to tell. And I don't like that. And then Rival's a big one, but things like NPC relationships, because another big one is like NPC relation. You have a girlfriend or whatever, which once again that's not like a drawback. That's narrative talking. Like, and I know you hear the fucking, and DMs do it because fucking dungeon masters and game masters can be absolute stupid fucking pieces of shit where a player gets like into like, they meet an NPC they really like and they start kind of like, it doesn't even have to be a romantic relationship, but like a very friendly relationship with this NPC. And then the DM murders them for drama, and a lot of times it's just used like fucking dumb edgelord bullshit just to piss players off, just to hurt players sometimes. And I don't like that, but that's all the relationships drawbacks are, is for ways for the DM to make a story about your revenge for this NPC's death. It makes the story about rescuing Lois Lane instead of about fighting the armies of Apocalypse. It makes a story about killing Dark Lord Gareth because he murdered, Lucy the barmaid, instead of it being about taking out Dark Lord Gareth because he's a fucking big bad evil guy. And like, so they're not really faults in the way that a fault should be. It's not like a fault like saying your character's blind, or your character has a bum leg, or your character, is afraid of gunfights, or your character's a pacifist. And when I say fault like being blind or having a bum leg or a pacifist, I don't mean that as some kind of like dig at anybody who, has these issues. But if you're an adventurer, being blind, or, having a limp, or being a pacifist, or being afraid of gunfire are things that you would have to find a way to overcome. And of course, there are ways to overcome it. Daredevil is, has radar sense, but I played a gunfighter. I didn't get a chance to really play him that much, but I built a gunfighter in a Deadlands campaign who was blind. And he used things like context clues from allies, and listening for like footsteps, or like the jangling of, because Deadlands is a cowboy game, the jangling of spurs, somebody cocking a pistol as his way of figuring out where to fire as a gunfighter. Here's Irving, the 127th fastest gun in the West. If you listen to Dr. Demento, you know what the character's based off of. But the idea was that he would use the sound, the environment, and allies to help him do what he needed to do. Help him be a better gunfighter. So yeah, being, like, I'm not saying being blind is some horrible thing that prevents you from being an adventurer or whatever, but it is something you have to overcome. Same with something like a lack of physical strength, like being in poor health, being in constant, like, chronic bronchitis, which is one I actually struggle with, but all that means is in order to push my breathing, that physical stamina, in order to prevent myself from being gassed, I just have to work a little bit harder than somebody who doesn't. I still fucking do it. I'm still fucking badass. But I do it. I have to work a little harder. Or somebody who's dyslexic has to work a little bit harder to overcome that in order to be a great writer. You can do it, you just have to put the time in. And that's kind of where a fault should be. But here's the thing. The idea that incentivizes role-playing is simply not true. Because incentivizing role-playing, good role-players are going to role-play. Whether they get 10 bonus points for being afraid of bees or not. They're going to be... Bad role-players aren't going to role-play. They're just going to find the ones that give them the least amount. Like secret identity or secret in the closet or whatever it is that they want to fucking have to get those 10 extra points. But even in a system like Dungeons & Dragons where they don't have actual faults... Good role players are going to create characters with interesting roleplay faults. The same that a character with somebody who's a bad role player is just going to not do that. Incentivized or not, good role players are going to good role play, bad role players are going to bad role play. The only thing that turns bad role players into good role players is experience. You can't incentivize somebody creating more complicated and interesting characters. They just have to do it on their own. And some people never will, and that's okay. However, there are a handful of faults. Back to kind of the idea of faults. There are a handful of faults that you should never fucking put in your games. If you are insistent on putting faults in your games. And there are 3. So the worst, there's a joke around Dungeons and Dragons culture that the 3 worst players are the rogue, the barbarian, and the bard. Because the bard's gonna fuck everything, the barbarian's gonna break everything, the rogue's gonna steal everything. And you can be those things without those 3 classes, but they're kind of the joke ones that are like everybody thinks about. And here's the thing. Those 3 guys are the fucking worst. Those 3 guys are the ones who ruin the game for everybody else. GURPS has this, and like it literally made me angry to see these things in GURPS. That is the first one, kleptomaniacy. Nothing in Dungeons and Dragons is worse than the addition of Kinder. No, I believe it's Forgotten Realms that did this. Had a race of people called the Kinder, and the idea is that they don't have any sense of personal property. If you lay something down, they'll just pocket it. That's not funny. It's one of the most idiotic and stressful fucking things as a DM to deal with. These characters who just steal shit all the time. Whatever. I just love fucking steal shit. As a DM, a character who's a kleptomaniac is so fucking stressful to run. Because now he's stealing shit. And now, okay, well, you fucking stole all this shit from the shopkeep. He's gonna fucking call the guards. So now the entire party has to deal with fucking guards. Okay, so you fucking kill the guards in town because you're a level 8 party, whatever. So now what do I do? Do I send level 12 guards against you? There goes the whole fucking campaign. Because now the whole fucking campaign is about the fucking king sending armies after you to fucking stop your kleptomaniac ass until you're either dead or in jail. That's it. That's the game now. You've decided to make the whole fucking game about you and your stupid fucking kleptomaniacy. It's not funny. It's not cute. I played a character, pirate, Drake Rose, and he would pocket stuff. He wasn't a kleptomaniac, though. He just, every once in a while, if he saw something was useful, because he was a pirate, he was a rogue, he was a scammer, he might pocket something. The system he started in, which was a Final Fantasy fan system, had an ability called Bottomless Pockets, where I could spend a fate point, basically, to pull a mundane item out of my pocket. And the idea would be that he just had pocketed that at some point somewhere. So, we were in jail, and he used the ability to open up, to pull out a bobby pin to unlock a door. Well, where did he get that bobby pin from? He pocketed it from somewhere at someone at some time. But he didn't just go around stealing everything that wasn't nailed down. That's a fucking terrible trait to have. And it's not an interesting one. You're not interesting because you're a kleptomaniac. You haven't enriched anybody, whether yourself or the party member. You have just made the game about you and your stupid pocketing shit. And the similar one, the barbarian one, which is you usually be angry or destructive, where you solve all your problems with violence. Yeah, okay, that's cool. If you're doing a straight dungeon crawl, fine, whatever. But if you're doing anything that involves social interaction, you've just fucking hindered the party again. It's okay, there's a locked door. I smashed the locked door. You set off the trap. Well, that reminds me of a funny story. We were playing Call of Cthulhu with our friend. And my friend, and God bless him, because he realized what he did as soon as he did it. There was a door. We were investigating an old manor, and the door was kind of jammed, because we thought there were criminals there. But the door was kind of jammed. So he's like, all right, I'm rolling a strength check, and he rolled a strength check. And he said, I'm going to try to use my shoulder and bust the door open. Threw his dice. I hit the table. And as soon as the dice hit the table, we didn't even see what the score was. He just, because he realized what happened, busted the door down, set off one of those, wire shotgun traps, blew his head clean off. And it was just so funny, because threw the dice, and as soon as it went clack, didn't even stop rolling, he just was like, But you end up with this problem player who just breaks everything. And once again now, so things like rivals and NPCs you're romantic with are spotlight hogs, but they're narrative spotlight hogs. Being a kleptomaniac and being destructive is a bad kind of spotlight hog. You are disrupting play so that everybody pays attention to you. If you have kleptomaniacy or hyperdestructivity as a flaw, you are fucking suffering from main character syndrome. That is a problem, and you need to chill the fuck out. And why are you rewarding people for acting like this, Steve Jackson? GURPS should not reward people for making the play worse for everyone at the table. And it leads me to the third one. And if anyone ever puts this in a game, I will never let a player take it. I might not even play the game, GURPS. And honestly, I will just think less of you as a game creator. And that is lethargio or womanizer or whatever. Our game space has a problem with people. And it is a lot men, but there are women too who do this. There's all kinds of stories about. Next week we're going to talk about D&D horror stories. But players in general making people at the table uncomfortable with unwanted sexual advances, whether in or out of character. So, for example, let's say I had a problem player. He would we had a female player, and he would sit next to her whenever he could. And he would make he was playing a bard, because of course he fucking was, constant inappropriate comments at this female player at our table. He would make, and in character, his character would constantly hound her character to seduce, and he would roll to seduce, even though DMs, I see fucking professional commentators within our space who say this shit about, well, you know, if they roll the persuasion, diplomacy, bluff skills do not work on PCs. It doesn't matter what bluff skill. I love Dungeons and Daddies. It's a podcast, but it'll be like, I'm gonna say this to this guy. Like, well, roll bluff. No. Bluff, diplomacy, insight, persuasion, intimidation. Intimidation you can use a little bit for the like fear effect thing. They do not work intra-party. You cannot use diplomacy or persuasion, whichever edition you're using, on another PC. It doesn't work that way. The PC gets to decide whether that diplomacy, that attempt at diplomacy or that attempt at bluffing, they believe or works on them. You cannot use persuade to force another PC to sleep with you. I had to explain this to him, and I cannot believe I have to explain this to you people in this space. You cannot use fucking bluff or persuasion to force another PC's player, to force another player to have their PC fuck the weird pervert at the table. That's not how the fucking game works. I'm gonna have to go through 5th edition again, but it is explicitly stated in 3rd edition that that's not how diplomacy works. You do not use diplomacy intra-party on other PCs. But players, there's a small, and it's a small subset, but it's a very, very damaging one to our space of players who make unwanted sexual advances at other players at the table. And sometimes they do it through, oh, it's what my character would do. First of all, you're playing a shit character. Fuck you. Which I'd be like, no, your character doesn't do that. Well, you're taking away. No, I'm not taking away your agency. I am making sure everybody else at the table isn't fucking uncomfortable. You fucking weirdo. And in fucking GURPS, you get like 2 character points for being that guy. Do not ever reward players for being creeps. Do not ever reward players for making other players uncomfortable. And when you give players extra points for being a fucking sexual deviant, for making other players uncomfortable, for making unwanted passes at both other players and NPCs, you have done nothing but make the space worse for everybody else at the table. Take that shit out of your fucking game. I am dead fucking serious. You can call me fucking James Ralph. Dead fucking serious. Do not put fucking nymphomaniacy as a fault in your fucking game system. Ever. No. Your game is not the exception. No. It's not okay in this case. Do not ever do that. You've made our space worse for everyone involved. So stop it. Now, with that being said, if 2 PCs want to start an interpersonal relationship, if everyone at the table is like, hey guys, I'm like Critical Role, and I hate Scanlan because Scanlan is this, but everyone at the table seems okay with it, fine, whatever. It's okay if everyone at the table is just like, hey guys, I'm going to play kind of a lethargio kind of like ladies man character. Are we going to is everybody cool with it? Session 0 it up, fine. Don't fucking give points for that shit, though. Because you're just encouraging that fucking weirdo who sat shoulder to shoulder with my feet. I had to bring my brother and my friend in to flank her to keep him from fucking being a weirdo to her. And you're just fucking encouraging it. You're literally going to give him extra power for acting like that. Don't ever do that. Do not ever do that. Do not ever encourage another player to make other people at the table feel uncomfortable. I will fucking gatekeep that 100%. We are supposed to be here for everyone of all types of people to come together and fucking forget about our shitty lives for a couple hours a week. Do not let the fucking creep, do not encourage, do not reward the fucking creep for being a creep. But like I said, with that being said, I don't like fault systems in games because I feel like they're just so... A lot of times the faults aren't faults. And you get this point where it's just a matter of taking dumb bullshit that doesn't actually matter in order to give yourself extra power. And like I said, you will never encourage good role players with something like this. Good role players are going to good role play, whether they do it or whether they get 15 bonus points or not. And power gamers, bad role players who are power gamers, munchkins is what they are. Munchkins will game the system and not actually encourage roleplay. They will just take the shit that they know isn't actually going to affect them, or give another one of the worst ones, and it's not as bad as the fucking nymphomaniacy one. There is nothing you can put in a game that will make me respect your game less than encouraging players to be fucking annoying horn dogs. But I have a secret past, so I have to write a whole adventure based on you now. Okay, cool, whatever. That's fine. Not like not like the rest of us had a story in mind. We gotta do shit about your secret, or we ignore it and you just fucking get 10 points for free. Ooh, I have a dark secret. Once again, I either have to write a whole fucking night based around your dark secret, or just give you fucking 15 free character build points. It's stupid. Don't do shit like that. I've never liked it. 5th edition did a thing where it's like you can roll character faults, and I kind of like that. And I don't mind because you didn't actually get any bonuses for it. It was just a way to kind of look at your character and kind of think about how maybe their character would be. Generally speaking, I'll build a character with an outline, and that's why DMs will be like, here's a 30 questionnaire about your character, and I'm always like, oh no, because I like to build a basic outline of a character and kind of fill in who they are as I play, because as time goes on, I will kind of just sink into the role of this character, and it's like, okay, oh, this is a fun quirk for my character, I'm going to use it. Or, oh, I thought this would be a fun quirk, but everybody at the table seems annoyed with it, so I'm going to push that to the side. And codified flaws, I feel like, don't really encourage that kind of adaptive roleplay, which I like to do. I know some people don't, and that's fine. You don't need 6 bonus points to write your 14-page backstory for your character. Your 14-page backstory for your character is perfectly fine. By all means, write it, and you can still roleplay that character. But yeah, it's just it. I don't like faults in systems, but if you're going to put faults in systems, really consider what that'll mean for your system. Because something like, your character is, crippled. They suffer -2 to all dexterity checks. And something like, your character has a rival who will show up to make their life difficult. They're not really the same. One is an actual mechanical issue that you have to overcome, and the other one is you get more spotlight. Actually, I can't remember the game, but I saw one game where having a rival cost you build points instead of giving you, because the idea was if you have a rival who shows up, it kind of pushes your character into spotlights for periods of time, and that was kind of cool. So yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say. I guess I'll see you guys next week when I talk about the problem with Dungeons & Dragons horror stories. Oh, and always, if you like what we do here, I have a link to our Discord down below if you would like to join and just chat. Our Discord's like 90% just us sharing memes. It's all jokes and us laughing. And I have my PayPal and my Cash App down below if you'd like to financially support me. If you can't financially support me, just, like our video, share Josh's videos. He does a lot on this channel too. Do a lot of wrestling content, gaming content. We just kind of do whatever we want to do. That was the theme of Chaos Infinity, was anything and everything. We just do what the fuck we want to do. But anyway, I will see you guys next week with some D&D horror stories.